Okay, everyone, this is my spoiler review of the new Netflix limited series, The Perfect Couple. Please make sure to hit that sub button before I jump to my review. I have been waiting for a show like this to come out forever. I feel like we've been lacking in the murder mystery, juicy type shows, and I'm excited that Nicole Kidman's in it. If I see Nicole Kidman's in something that's a mystery, like The Undoing or Nine Perfect Strangers, I am going to watch it. I am going to cover it. So I was really excited here too because this is also Netflix, so it's kind of cool to see Nicole Kidman do a type of show like that now on Netflix, having done really everything with HBO with Undoing and Hulu with Nine Perfect Strangers. Now we're just gonna go episode by episode, my review here and my general thoughts and everything I'm feeling because I have a lot of feelings about this show. Now, my excitement quickly started to dwindle a little bit when I saw the opening credits for the first time of the whole cast dancing on the beach. That gave me just red flag right there. And going into this show, I didn't think it would be as soapy as it got because it's soapy. Like, it is like if you took away the big name cast members and just played that script with some random actors, it would be a soap opera. Now, with this first episode, I did like they didn't show who was actually killed till the end of the episode. And I like it reverses, it goes to what happened at the beginning of the rehearsal dinner day. It's very much like a Big Little Lies opening episode. And we see very important characters in Greer and Tag, played by Nicole Kidman and Liev Schreiber, that they're labeled the perfect couple, the name of the show. That's how they're seen to the world, and we'll see as the show unfolds they're the furthest from that. Now, with the killer being revealed later in the show, if you haven't watched all the episodes, stop watching this review, but with it being Abby, there was hints to it being Abby, played by Dakota Fanning, which was cool to see her here because they first frame her when you first see her saying these really nasty things and make her very unlikable, and then she kind of disappears for 3 episodes. That is when I started thinking it was Abby, because I was like, we haven't heard from Abby in a while, and they keep showing everyone else as a misdirect and they're not showing Abby. So I was like, Abby definitely did it. Episode 4 is when I started guessing it was Abby. You might have done it earlier, but even just here, you see in episode 1 when they mentioned that the wedding was moved up for Miss Sachs dying, Amelia's mother, that Abby made a comment about it being 4th of July weekend. So that just shows you the character of this person. And she has a lot of moments like that where she's talking about how with Shooter, she's attracted to him because he's rich, and that she was worried about her vintage dress when people were fighting around her. All those kind of moments showing how vain she is would make you start to believe that maybe this is the type of person who would actually kill somebody. Now, right away, we see this perfect couple is in a perfect couple with Greer and Tag, because Greer finds Tag got somebody else an $18,000 bangle bracelet. So that bracelet's going to be very important throughout the show. And you're already getting hints of that it wasn't just your typical cold feet type of feeling Amelia was feeling about the wedding, that she's not sure she loves Benji. This was making you think that something else is going up there, that they don't also seem like the perfect couple, and that will later on reveal that she also has feelings for someone else, which we're going to get to. But I also didn't know that the actress who plays Amelia, Eve Houston, was Bono's daughter. So if that's the first time you're hearing it too, there's your fun fact for the day. Now, the other red flag in the first episode for me, besides the dancing intro, was when Amelia was kissing Benji and she says the line, "I love it when you smell like paint." That is where I started getting really worried, and my eyes slightly started to roll. Then we eventually meet Thomas, who is a real a-hole, and he's terrible to Benji, he's terrible to Will, he's terrible to everybody. And he even says to Benji that his wife married him for money, and he talks about the possibility of them being scissor sisters, which is just an awful thing to say to your brother. But he also knew, with Jack Rayner playing the part, that he was going to be some kind of character like that. That's kind of what he's known for playing, and he's good at it. And then the big reveal at the end is Merritt, who died. So she's found at the shore by Amelia, and like I said, that it feels like the Big Little Lies opening. The show feels like Big Little Lies in ways, but it also has a mix, a little bit of trying to be as clever and witty as White Lotus, not really successfully doing that, but I see the inspiration. And I've never read the book, so I'm not judging this by the book. I'm judging this by what the show I'm seeing. But for me, episode 1, I had enough interesting characters so far and enough of a good hook at the end that I'd keep watching it. So I thought it was a decent episode, so I'd give it a 7.5. So when episode 2 started, I was like, okay, maybe that intro's not every episode because, they did that dance at the rehearsal dinner. Maybe it's something else. No, it's not. It's the same dance. So I was like, oh my God, here we go. It's like the cue for people who don't take this show so seriously, which I hate. I hate that. It's like, No, come on, it's a murder mystery. Like, let's go. You got a great cast. It's like, make it amazing. And I also don't want to see all these people dancing that we're supposed to really not like. I don't feel joy from that. But episode 2 really set up Amelia versus the family kind of storyline going on. It shifts. And Amelia becomes the vehicle for us, the audience, learning about all these characters, and she's the one we kind of can relate to the most. Now, with the bracelet reveal from last episode, it starts revealing more to other characters. Like Amelia found out that night about what Merritt was up to, so there's this big fight. And with the show, I thought actually enjoyed and did well, even though it might have overdone it, is it did a lot of red herrings and misdirects, but I think that's what kept it intriguing and kept you on your toes, so it wasn't like so obvious it was Abby in any way. It was just constantly making you think maybe it is this person, seeing ways it could be someone else. Now, was I crazy about the two actors who were playing the detectives? No, I thought they were decent, but I would have liked to see, if you have all these big names in a cast, maybe have a bigger name actor play such important parts. And a lot of the humor fell flat for me with the detectives, which are those kind of roles, you know, if you have the right actor in there, you can enhance it. Now, at this point, also, I wasn't a fan of with the interrogations having characters like the housekeeper and Isabel, who is the thing I hated the most about this show, is this character. I was sitting there trying to figure out, like, wait a minute, we're meeting all these characters. Who is this person? Who is she really friends with in the family? Why are they giving her so much screen time? It was so confusing to me at the beginning, and her character was really strange. And I get that's the point of it, but I just didn't like it. I felt like her, the housekeeper, and the wedding planner guy didn't need to have so much screen time at the beginning with the interrogation. I just felt like it was so many cooks at that point, where I'd rather just keep it within the family in this show and that story. I think it would have been more intriguing, but I don't know what was going on with that character, Isabel, but I thought that was, the whole thing was weird. Now, we'll start to see the theme going on about how the rich are always feeling like they can get away with anything and ways out of things. Like Greer wants to make a press statement that Merritt had a suicide, and she has people sign DNAs for situations that happened before in the past. And it's all to protect her career. Greer is this famous author. So you're seeing a show where the author's kind of living a life that would be like a story in her books. Then, with this character of Isabel, I just was like, what, with Thomas cheating on Abby with Isabel? So just, Thomas is something. But that will start the trend now of everyone in the show as basically a cheater. And there's some scenes that were just like laughable to me and making tension, where you see a scene like Greer says to Tag on the porch, "Can you clean this up? I've been cleaning up after you all day." Like, that's the scene. I was just like, what? But Amelia will start giving the cops information. Everyone's giving the cops a little bit of information that puts someone else kind of in a bad light. Like Amelia says to the cops that she knows Tag was sleeping with Merritt. So, you know, Thomas is a cheater, Tag's having an affair. And this is all very important to how this will kind of blend into the mystery of how Merritt was actually killed. And they add the thing they always have to add, right? The other crazy cliffhanger that Merritt was pregnant. And Greer saw the bracelet on Merritt, so she can connect the dots and know that that was the side chick. Now, this was a very short episode. It was only 40 minutes. It was my least favorite of the whole series, so I'm giving this one a 5.8. I just thought it was very dull, and there was some like laughable scenes, like the cleaning up scene, and it just felt like, okay, that was a big downgrade from episode 1. Now, episode 3 really gets into the mystery of Will's French tutor, who was very close to May, and she disappeared. But Benji did not tell Amelia about this, and they had also gotten NDAs from Greer at that time too. Tag was cheating on Greer with May, and she tried to kill herself, and they had a settlement made with May not to go to court. So it's a whole thing, and it's kind of adding to this misdirect that they're just doing this again now with Merritt. It's also interesting, though, what I did like was Tag's relationship with Greer, that even though he cheats so much, he even says he has a sickness, he wants Greer more than anything. Like, he's hooked to Greer. And Liev Schreiber and Nicole Kidman were excellent in the show. Like, they were just so good, like they usually are. Now, one of the funniest things about the show to me is hiding places. And that's just like hiding things you don't want people to see, but also like cheating in plain sight, which we'll see in the show as well. But right here, Amelia finds pics and drawings of Merritt in Benji's drawer. Like, good job hiding that, Benji, because he said he wanted to hide it from her, but he had it right there in the main drawer. And I also thought it was hysterical that Will was so angry about the tutor lie with Tag that he goes on a ship into this crazy storm. Like, what was the plan there? And why did he love this tutor so much? But the first really big misdirect is on Will here, because they find the bangle bracelet under his pants, but they also find prints of his on the knife and blood in the sand near the crime scene. So this one brought up the quality a little more for me, and I was still intrigued by the story, and still really good acting for most parties involved, so I'm going to give it a 7.3. Now, episode 4 reveals a lot about Amelia. Amelia clams up when the cops ask her about Shooter Duvall, which is one of the best names I've ever heard. And we see the flashback here of when they first met. And I was like, okay, my eyes had started to slowly roll. Now they were really rolling when they ran around in the freezing water together when they just met. I thought that was like, oh my God. But see, why it was a misdirected Will is Will overheard Merritt tell Tag that she was pregnant, and Will warned her Tag would never leave Greer. I just thought it was weird. Why wouldn't Will tell his mom that was happening? But she did already know, and she even warned Merritt, you're one of many. Now, Benji, his misdirect was him possibly cheating with Merritt, but now he says they were drawings for a portrait of Merritt. So that was just like, okay. Now, I actually like the cake fight scene that Abby, Thomas, and Benji had. And like I said, that big moment where she's like, it's vintage, Abby says with the dress, which was pretty funny. And we'll see that Greer starts to give information to Chief Carter. She gives him the receipt of a bracelet tag for Merritt. So that was an interesting kind of twist of events. And I just thought it was so laughable that Amelia and Shooter, like I was saying, things happening in plain sight, they just start kissing and Benji just happens to be right there and walks in just in time. And they do it out in the open. You know, it's like, come on. But I'll give that one a 6.8. It wasn't great, but I'm still into the mystery of it all, keeping me around. Now, this episode leans into Tag being the huge red herring, that he's the one now getting interrogated. And this has the absolute worst scene I've seen in anything in the past year in this episode when Isabel is at the book event and is just telling Benji weirdly about how great makeup sex would be with Amelia at this point. It was just such a weird performed scene and weird writing. I was just like, what am I watching? And then I love Benji punches Shooter at the wedding, a gut punch, and then he just walks away and that's it. And I also thought it was very rushed how quickly Amelia and Benji make up in a way. And I could see them having sex like they did, but the way they emotionally make up, where she's really not that remorseful to him and they're kind of flirty with each other right away. It was really weird. They never really had a good talk about what was going on with Shooter. And then at the Greer book event, my favorite part is when Tag says at the book event, our marriage is effed. And then right when he says that, there's like this couple in the crowd that immediately gets up and is like, let's go. Like, that's the moment right there. They had to get out of there. And it was so funny when Tag just falls off the stage. And now Amelia's hurt that Shooter didn't tell her about the money that he had. She's like, I thought we were the same. And this is where it was frustrating because Amelia is someone you're rooting for in the beginning, or at least can relate to. And now it's like, oh God, like she's cheating now too. And she also is saying things like this about being mad about not knowing he had a lot of money. It's just like, right now you're really thinking about that. And poor you, Amelia. Like, oh, just cringe. And they finally explain this mysterious character of Roderick that Greer had called him, and the wire transfer she had sent him was 300,000 from Shooter. So then you're like, huh? So you're in the place of the cops at that point, trying to figure out how that all makes sense and what is going on there, especially because the sleep app showed the Tag was alone. So maybe was this Greer who was ordering a kill on Merritt. But you knew, because it wasn't the finale yet, that this was probably another misdirect. I like the end of the episode showing Merritt saying hi to someone that we don't see, so it makes us know while we're watching the finale there is someone directly involved. This wasn't just an accident. So I'm going to give this episode, though, a 6.6. Not great, and a lot of that stuff at that book event was just really weirdly paced in moments like him punching Shooter and him just walking away and them just being okay with each other, Benji and Amelia, like that. Now, in the finale, you're changing from Tag being the red herring in the hot seat to Greer, and it makes sense because this is the character you think is the most obvious who would do this. But I like the twist of this pill situation because you were wondering when Miss Sachs was switching around her pills. You're like, what is the point of this scene? So there had to be something. And her euthanasia pills she put in that pouch. And of course, that Thomas Roulette came full circle. So that was really cool. I like that it was something that you'd think was just like something you throw away, actually very important. And it makes you just see how much of an idiot Thomas actually is. Now, what made my eyes actually officially roll like 4 times in a row was when we see Shooter's phone, and he has Amelia still on his phone as B-Train from the time he met on the train. I was like, Lord, help me. But we get this scene, which is my favorite of the show, where Nicole Kidman does so good letting off steam on everybody, and everything is kind of revealed about her. And she reveals Roderick's her brother. He had a gambling addiction, and that Greer was an escort, and that Tag was someone who paid for her as an escort, and that the brother organized a clientele for his own sister. So wild stuff, but I really like this twist, and I really love seeing Nicole Kidman just like go all out in this scene. She was great. But we see Thomas being Thomas in the past grab the gun that night to scare Merritt. And this is all about the trust fund money, because if she's to have this baby, it backs up when he would get that trust fund money. He also owes Isabel. So Isabel has a motive for the trust fund money. But then in my head, I'm going, okay, but Abby would want that money too. So this is totally the last misdirecting Isabel, and that it's going to be Abby. Now, what I actually thought was hysterical and I loved, was the funniest part of the show to me, is when Benji asks Will when his B-Day is. And after Will answers that, Will says under his breath really quickly, why doesn't he know that? I thought that was so great. But I like the misdirects. I like the red herrings in a show like this because that's the fun part of it. That I get. It's just, I don't know why it went so soap opera and so many things are just completely ridiculous. Like even just the intro dance scene. And speaking of that, we get to see it at the end, the full dance, uncut, amazing. And I don't think the scene quite landed with Greer at the end giving her new book to Amelia at the zoo 6 months later. I just thought it was like okay, but not totally earned, or I'd feel any real emotions from that because I don't really like Amelia either. So you're kind of just like, okay, like they're finding a little piece here, but nothing really that hits home as like a closing moment. But I like Abby as the killer. I thought that was a cool reveal and it made sense, and there was hints in her behavior, how she looked at people. And again, I just thought from how these shows kind of are, if you haven't seen her as a red herring for a while and no focus on her for a couple episodes, you forget about someone they want you to, and it clearly was Abby. So the finale and the premiere I liked the best, and I thought it got back to that level that I liked, so I'm going to give it also a 7.5. So rounding out my scores for the whole season, it goes to a 6.9 for this show, which is disappointing. I was really excited. Anything with Nicole Kidman, again, mystery, I thought it'd at least be 7.58 range, but there was stuff in here that was just like, oh my God. And you want the best always, right? So I thought this was going to be something like a big summer hit. I don't think that's going to happen with this, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you love it. It's a popular book. I still want to read the book. I hear the book's great. But overall, I just didn't really love this show. And I still think, though, I was intrigued by the mystery. That's what kept me going through it. And some really good acting from actors I love, like Dakota Fanning, Nicole Kidman, Liev Schreiber, like Jack Rayner a lot. And I thought Eve Houston was great, too. But at the end of the day, in where they're trying to hit that demo of people who love Big Little Lies and White Lotus, it falls flat compared to those two. But hopefully we see more projects like this. I'm happy there's more stories like this coming out. I want more of this. I feel like it's been so slow. Like we had a really good phase with Sharp Objects coming out, even Handmaid's Tale, those kind of shows. I feel like it's just been so few and far between. But let me know what you thought down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I read every comment, try to respond as many as I can. Hit that sub button so you don't miss one of my reviews of shows I'm reviewing. I also do movies and I do celebrity interviews as well. And I'll see you next time.